In the mountains, some way away from here, there is a little girl with big dark eyes and a wonderful bright smile who sits down to eat a healthy meal. And when she sits down to eat, there is a pastor there and his helpers, some deaconesses, and they are teaching her to pray to Jesus. And they are teaching her why to pray to Jesus. And while she eats, she does give thanks to God. And when she gives thanks to God, she gives thanks for you. If you travel up to Cheektowaga and for some reason blurt out that you are from Wilson, New York, you will most likely hear the response, "Where?" But the little girl knows where Wilson, New York is. The breeze she feels on her forehead comes from the Pacific Ocean, and the mountains cool the breeze before it cools her brow. And when she uses her fingers to brush her dark hair away from her face, she treasures Wilson, New York, wondering what life must be like in a land where it snows. And she continues to eat while the pastor and the deaconesses continue to teach her about Jesus. Blessed are you poor, right? But as it stands, we are rather wealthy by sole virtue of being American. And the only way that we can receive the happiness God promises for us is for us to repudiate every penny, acknowledging that we give thee but thine own. Every penny belongs to God. It's fun to think about money, isn't it? Every once in a while to consider what it is and what it isn't. See, here in my hand I hold a $1 bill. I am touching it with my hand. It is real. If I go to the convenience store, and when I present this dollar bill in exchange for a Snickers candy bar, the nice lady behind the counter will look at me oddly and say, "That's $1.47, please." She might say please. She might say something else. Nevertheless, I will reach into my pocket with an embarrassed look on my face and I will rummage around for 2 quarters, or a quarter, 2 dimes, and 2 pennies, or some combination of quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies, all of which I can touch with my hand. And I will deliver them over. And the nice lady at the convenience store will relinquish to me the Snickers candy bar, which I will then eat, and I will feel better for a few minutes until the sugar crash and the guilt of eating when I'm on a diet. See, this dollar bill is something. At the same time, it is nothing. Nothing of value. It is a piece of cloth. 25% linen, 75% cotton, with printing and overlays and interlays and such, but it is in essence a piece of cloth. On it is printed something about its valid use as currency relating to the United States Treasury, none of which I really understand, but I know in practical use this piece of cloth has no value until I give it value, usually by thinking real hard on it. And I say to it, "Dollar bill, you are worth to me a Snickers candy bar." Whereupon the good people at the convenience store look upon the same exact piece of cloth, the very one in my hand, and they say, "You are worth to us a half a Snickers candy bar." In the course of a single transaction, they may win this time. But if we all decide that this piece of cloth is worth a little more than they say it is with respect to a high-calorie candy bar, and we refuse to buy it at such an exorbitant price, keeping our cloth to ourselves, the good people at the convenience store will eventually relent, and our cloth will truly be worth more Snickers candy bars. Now, you may have heard a commercial or two on the radio pertaining to the purchase of gold. "The stock market will surely crash," the voice says. "The government-backed currency will certainly become worthless. Buy gold so that you can survive this economic apocalypse." I assure you, as I am standing here today, a piece of gold will only have so much value as we agree it does. If during the apocalypse you march to the convenience store with a bar of gold, There will be some debate there on the spot about the value of a piece of golden-colored metal with respect to food, whose value is the sustenance of life at this moment. How much is a piece of golden-colored metal worth, even if you have piles of it, when there is no food to buy with it? And so you can plainly see, this dollar bill has some value, depending on the circumstances. Therefore, I will not throw this dollar bill away. At the same time, however, it has the value of a cup of wind if we decide it has no more currency, despite the printing upon this piece of cloth. You have some of those right now, don't you? Some of you have one or two. Maybe you have a few more. Some of you may have piles of these, but you know quite well that they are something and they are nothing. As long as they are something, you are using them to do good. I was astonished at how quickly you gave away your pieces of cloth to give to that little girl and her friend, the little boy whose civilization has collapsed so that they do not have institutions to give them food, a collapse they surely do not understand or comprehend, a destructive force that was unleashed in Central America before any of us were born, and really began to glow white hot only 40 years ago in the crosshairs of the vagaries of international politics, with the Soviet Union funding the Sandinistas, which set off a proxy war with the United States, who were funding Contras, and now the Chinese are involved somehow, and the wheel has turned yet again, with very little hope for anyone there in Nicaragua, especially in the mountains, where these children look to you for food, and you deliver. They can never pay you back. And if there were a way to get them here to visit us, or to get you there to visit them, there would be a mix of jumping up and down, and shouts, and tears, and hugs, and singing, along with so many smiles. In paradise, where we shall all surely meet, someone resembling the little girl and the little boy will come up to you to tell you of God's great work, how when they prayed, "And give us this day our daily bread," God used you to provide it. It is rice. It is fresh fruits and vegetables. It is nutritious meat. It is sometimes a piece of cake. And it is 3 times a week, when otherwise they don't know what low-value food they might be eating and when. Give to everyone who begs from you, Jesus says. I begged in their behalf, and you gave. And I know that I do not have to beg again. I only have to remind you to keep on giving, for you lend to those from whom you expect to receive nothing in return. What good Christians I walk among! In your hearts, you actually understand that money is a spiritual thing, that money comes from the kingdom of God and belongs to the kingdom of God. But not that you should boast in yourselves, of course. It is necessary to warn you off that particular road, for it is stacks and stacks of pieces of cloth which have value now, which tomorrow may have no value. It is something and it is nothing. While you continue to peel off a few of those pieces of cloth to do good, put in your minds which treasury it actually comes from: the treasury of Christ's blood. He shed his blood on the cross to buy you back from death. His blood is far more valuable than cloth, far more valuable than silver or gold. It buys you life, as long as there are those who do not have any cloth. Jesus always gives more than one to someone else, so that his blood might flow to the poor. And it is your dollar bills bringing the gospel to those little boys and girls. In paradise, when we shall all surely meet, we will be the ones saying to them whom God fed by our hand, "Blessed are you poor, for yours is the kingdom of God, and blessed are we by whom the Lord gave you everlasting happiness."